Okay, so today we're going to peel back something like 9,000 years of history to explore one of the most fascinating and kind of mysterious ancient cities ever found, Çatalhöyük. It's in modern-day Turkey, and trust me, it's going to completely challenge your idea of what a city should even look like. Just take a look at this. At first glance, it almost looks like one single massive building, right? Like a giant honeycomb of mud brick houses all crammed together. But wait a second, where are the streets? And where are the doors? This isn't just a cool drawing. This is the central puzzle of Çatalhöyük. So yeah, that brings us to the big question for this whole explainer. Why in the world would you build a city this way? It seems so inconvenient, right? Maybe even a little dangerous. But as we're about to see, the people of Çatalhöyük had some absolutely brilliant reasons for their one-of-a-kind design.
All right, let's start by diving into the architecture of this place because it's baffling. It's a design that feels totally alien to us today, but for them, it was the key to their survival and their way of life for nearly 1,000 years.
To really put this in perspective, you have to understand that Çatalhöyük is one of the oldest cities we know of, period. This was a time when most people were living in tiny, scattered groups, and here, thousands of people were coming together, creating this complex society that was just light years ahead of its time.
So here, you can really see how archaeologists figured all this out. On the left, you've got the actual site plan. Looks like a maze, doesn't it? It's just a sea of rectangular foundations. And on the right, you see what that actually means. A solid block of houses, all leaning on each other, with 0 streets at ground level. None. And this is the part that just blows my mind. Get this. There was literally no way to get into or out of your house from the ground. The only way in? Through a hole in the roof. And this image shows you exactly how it worked. You'd climb a ladder onto your roof, walk across the rooftops, and these weren't just roofs. They were the city's streets. They were the public squares where everyone hung out. And then you'd climb down another ladder through the ceiling into your home. The whole idea of public versus private space was completely vertical. So that's the outside. But what was it actually like to live in one of these places? Let's climb down that ladder and see what was going on inside. Because the interior world of a Çatalhöyük house was every bit as unique as its exterior. What's really striking is how similar all the houses were. Archaeologists found that each one had a big main room, the hearth and oven were always in the same spots, they had raised platforms for sleeping or working. This wasn't random. It points to a really organized society, with these deeply ingrained ideas about how a proper home should function. Okay, check this detail out. It's amazing. People would re-plaster their walls every single year. A house wasn't just a temporary building. It was this living legacy for a family. And because of these plaster layers, we know that a single home could be lived in by the same family for generations, for over 100 years. Just imagine that.
But the connection to home gets even deeper than that. These houses were covered in art, in murals. They were sacred spaces. And maybe the wildest part? Families buried their dead, their own ancestors, right there under the floors of the main room. So your house was your home, your art gallery, your church, and your family tomb, all in one. All right, so we've got the what and the how. Now for the big one. Why? Why on earth build a city like this? Well, it turns out it wasn't strange at all. It was genius. It really boils down to 3 brilliant ideas. First up, defense. Think about it. With no doors or windows on the ground floor, the entire city is basically one giant fortress, a solid, impenetrable wall. Second, stability. These mud brick houses, all packed in tight, literally held each other up, making them stronger and last way longer. And third, community. I mean, with rooftops as the only way to get around, your daily life was naturally social. You had to interact with your neighbors. Yeah, when you put it side by side with a normal city, you really see just how radical this idea was. Travel wasn't on horizontal streets. It was across rooftops. Defense wasn't about your own front door. The entire city was the defense. They just completely flipped the script on what a city could be. So what's the big takeaway from this incredible place? Well, Çatalhöyük wasn't just a collection of houses. It was this profound, deeply integrated idea about how to live together, how to stay safe, and what home truly means. 9,000 years. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's how long ago these early city planners engineered a way of life that was incredibly resilient and deeply communal. Their architecture wasn't just about building shelter, it was a blueprint for their whole society.
And that kind of leaves us with a fascinating question to chew on. For the people of Çatalhöyük, the idea of home wrapped up everything. Daily life, spirituality, their connection to their ancestors. It really makes you wonder, in our modern world where we have a separate space for everything, what have we gained and what might we have lost along the way?